Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Wednesday night, about 10:32 p.m. here, California time. October 16th, 2024 is the date. Latest activity shows a 2.4 into the Alaska area. Got some broad-scale earthquake activity happening out here since this morning's update. Goodness, a lot of amping up here of earthquake activity across the Kermadec Trench, even underneath New Zealand area. Another deep 4.1, 113 miles deep underneath this area. Look at this swarm of activity stirring up here across the Kermadec Trench. Now, it looks like it's bouncing back up here to the north here from our previous swarm. Things are very active out here. Goodness, just in the last 7 days alone, we've had 15 earthquakes of mainly 5.0 magnitude levels. So that's a lot of activity stirring up down here with minimal adjustment taking place down here in New Zealand, but we are noticing a little bit of uptick here across this area. So just keep an eye on it. There's obviously some big time strain building up out here across the plate boundary. A pair of super deep earthquakes there. Look at that number, 333.3. That's the depth of the earthquake there in miles for a really deep 4.5. Looks like the more recent one, another deep earthquake, 4.8 at 360 miles here. So things are on the big time move out here, and that's when we can see some large earthquake activity out here. So keep an eye on this region because, goodness, that's no joke. It's hopping like crazy. Southern California out here lighting up slightly in the last hour. No major adjustment going on out here yet. Mostly some microquakes. The latest one at 2.6 up in Northern Cal. One earthquake here on the Coast Range, Pacific side of the plate boundary, just off the oceanic fault zone for a 2.8. Now we are seeing obviously some earthquakes here in the last hour in the red circles, and a handful down here in Southern California, extreme Southern California as well, but no major adjustment. I'm expecting this to kick up here soon though, because we're watching the plate boundary all over the place here, the plates in action. And just a matter of time before we see things ramp up back here in Southern California. A handful of earthquakes throughout Nevada as well, mainly some microquakes up and down the state there. Extreme Northern California, pretty quiet. Look at this at the Cascadia subduction zone, 2.3 and a 1.5 up around the Cascadia fold and thrust belt. That's not a good sign. Let's see what we got here for tremor activity real quick. Cascadia tremor showing us that nothing. Zip zero. That's a little surprising there. Nothing showing up there for Cascadia tremor. But we do have the strain building up out here. Obviously earthquake activity up around the Cascadia subduction zone. Let's see what we got in the last 7 days here. Most of the activity here has been in the southern portion of that Cascadia. So keep an eye on that as well. I mean, there's just a lot going on out here recently, folks. Washington area, a handful of smaller quakes. Alaska still moving up here. Goodness, got 5.3 earlier this morning. Since then, mainly smaller microquake activity up and down the area. They have increased the alert level there at Mount Spur, I believe it's called. Let me go back over here and double check that volcano hazard map here real quick, and then we'll get back to earthquakes. This one right here, Spur, near the Cook Inlet area. And this volcano has seen a little increasing earthquake activity. It went from green up to a yellow and advisory, and that is due to increased volcanic unrest there at Mount Spur over the past several months. So right now there's no indications that an eruption is imminent, but obviously we've seen a lot of earthquake activity out here recently across Alaska, and it looks like that subduction zone is fueling the volcanoes out there across the Aleutian Trench. You're getting at least one of them on the heightened side. Wouldn't doubt if we start seeing maybe one or two more pop up there in terms of elevated activity. But we got to keep an eye on it. Things can get rather interesting out here real quick across the subduction zone. Little swarm of activity here in the Gulf of Alaska. Looks like some 2s and 1s. still watching this area right here, folks, this subduction zone area. And I say that because we looked at quite a bit of large-scale activity here historically across this region, and not a whole lot recently filling in across this area. So it could be time maybe for some larger scale earthquake activity out here across that area of the Aleutian Trench. Things are on the uptick out here, so got to be on guard. Oklahoma and Texas, nothing major going on. The eastern portion of the country, quiet for now. A little larger earthquake out here across the northern mid-Atlantic ridge, 5.2. That is showing up out here across the earthquake 3D globe as well. But aside from that, the Atlantic pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on out there in the rift boundaries. Older quake activity here across the Middle America Trench. The red rings here indicating some older earthquake activity. It looks like newer movement shifting down south here across this area around the Peru-Chile Trench. But, look at this. Goodness. It's a crazy earthquake party down here. I don't know if I want to join an earthquake party. I know they have hurricane parties and whatnot down south, but an earthquake party? Anyway, definitely keep an eye on this, folks. We got some major shifting going on down here with a swarm of deep earthquakes and a lot of shallow adjustment going on here. One earthquake there across the Vanuatu area, 5.0, 6.2 miles deep there. Further up north, across the Japan area, one deep earthquake into the Izu Trench. That will further amplify strain out here across this area. Looks like the latest quake further down across the western area of the Filipino plate in the blue circle here, 4.7. But there's a 4.7 underneath Japan as well this morning. Things definitely getting interesting out here. Java Trench, not so much. Couple smaller quakes. Turkey area. Now Turkey seeing a 6-pointer this morning. Well, just after midnight. Since then, it looks like there's been a swarm of activity. Let's see when that 6-pointer was. That was earlier, much earlier this morning. Things really ramping up here across this area now. A lot of shifting of the plates out here. 5.9 Afghanistan. That's a fairly large earthquake out there. Latest one of 5.0 in China. A couple other smaller earthquakes out there as well. Some big time movement going on. I've noticed this here in the last week. Remember, if you watch my videos, I was talking about the elevated seismicity out here across the Mediterranean. Very visible on a lot of the updates I've done here over the past couple nights, and things are still amplified out here. A lot of rocking and rolling going on across this area. I don't recall the last time I've seen some major increase in activity here, such as what we're seeing right now across this area. Potentially all could be leading to something bigger. You got to think about this. When things really get moving out here, that's when areas that maybe have not seen any large earthquake activity in a while could be subject to a larger quake. No 8-pointer yet. I have a feeling we're going to be seeing one here soon. The average yearly 8-pointer count runs about one per year. If not one per year, one every other year for an 8.0 or above earthquake. 9-pointers, they take a little bit longer. Those are the big, giant ones. The last one was 2011 for that, but our last 8-pointer was back in 2021. So it's been 3 years now, and no 8-pointer. So things are coming, I guess we could play a game of eeny, meeny, miny, mo, but it could be anywhere, folks. It really could. More than likely, obviously, could be the subduction zone regions here across Alaska. The Kuril-Kamchatka Trench is very primed for a big one. New Zealand area potentially could be looking at some larger activity. You never know. But when things are on the elevated side out here, we have to be on guard. Even Southern California, right? 8.1 out here is the forecasted earthquake magnitude there is what they're claiming. There's enough stress built up there in 300 and something years for a big earthquake. That's been an area of interest here recently. Not a lot going on here today in terms of felt earthquakes, but It's still active. Let's see what else we got here across the world. Is that 5.2 in the Atlantic? Well south of Iceland there along the plate boundary. Let's see what's going on there across the Yellowstone. And then I'm going to check the GeoNet servers here real quick, because I think there's some other earthquake activity happening down there. This is some type of wind event from earlier this afternoon. Notice that it's died out in the evening. We see that a lot, almost every single day actually. Not a whole lot of earthquake activity. So let's go over here to the GeoNet servers real quick and see what's going on. 8 hours ago, 3.9. So they're reporting that 4.8 there 8 hours ago, 167 kilometers deep underneath North Island there. That's associated with the Hikurangi subduction zone in the deeper areas there. Let's see if we got any swarms going on out here anywhere. There's a couple of those threes about 8 hours or so ago, and the 4.8 in there as well. Not seeing anything significant yet, but still, you know, be on guard. A little bit of swarming down here across the area of the plate boundary, it looks like, near Jackson Bay. That runs right across the plate boundary here. All right, let's check out Hawaii real quick. This is one area that's just been a little too quiet. I'm wondering why. Latest earthquake at 2.3 around the Loihi Seamount. It's been a little active out here recently. There's a trail of activity stretching out here. If you notice that, something going on. Going to have to watch that pretty closely. Fairly deep though in terms of the depth of these earthquakes, about 4 miles or so below the surface. But still, it's an interesting little trail of activity leading out there to that seamount. All right, what else do we have? Look at that Cascadia activity, goodness. And that's another one that's overdue. 1700 was the last big one out here. 324 years. A lot has happened in that time frame. A lot of stress built up out here. Space weather activity, it looks like a little bit of M-flare movement happening right now. Little low-grade M-flare, M1.7. Oh, I'll take that back, M2.4. It looks like it was up there a little bit. There we go. M2.4, very impulsive event. That's got to be from one of these sun or the Earth-facing sunspots here. Let's see what we have for the latest image. The active region is starting to shift over here towards the western limb. So this area of concern will be out of sight, out of mind soon enough. This area is starting to develop a little bit more. Now, NASA put out, let's see if he mentioned this or not. Oh, yeah, here we go. I'm glad Kevin mentioned it here on solarham.com because I don't have the link that Timothy sent me. So, NOAA and the NASA announced that solar cycle 25 has officially reached solar maximum. So the next year or so should see some of the highest sunspot and solar flare activity of the current solar cycle. There's the full story here. You know, it's been fairly active in terms of sunspots and CMEs here recently. There's a couple different YouTube videos there if you guys want to check that out. I'll leave this link here in the description of this update video. But yeah, we're definitely above the predicted values. So I guess we're at the peak. So is it supposed to go down from here? I mean, it's supposed to still be a little bit active, but they officially announced the peak of it. If I remember right, the peak was not supposed to be until next year sometime. So it looks like we're a year early. It's supposed to be June 2025 was the solar maximum peak. But looks like they went with the decision to announce that it is right about now. All right. So anyway, we'll watch this sunspot area that's currently facing the Earth, 3856. Notice the complexity has popped up here a little bit stronger in terms of the color differences, indicating that magnetic complexity. Aside from that, this area is heading off to the west. Not a whole lot here in the eastern limb yet, but that should change here pretty soon. This is going to be the 16th. It looks like a newer active region here, just about ready to crest the eastern limb. But I want to see what this one looks like here. We'll see that within a week. 3842, 3844. And see if we don't start getting some more further elevated activity. And no telling how many times these sunspots have come around and gone around the sun. You know, they get renamed every time they come around the eastern limb. These could be sunspots from months ago. I noticed that these sunspots go through little cycles and series. They die down, they amplify up, they almost dissipate, and then they pop up again, you know, but it's technically the same sunspot. So, a new name for an old sunspot. We'll have to watch those as they come back around the bend. 20% chance for X flare, it looks like elevated here. 80% for M flare. C flare around 99% chance or so. Nothing major in the aurora forecast, and there's a beautiful bright moon out there this evening. Anything major going on out here across the country for severe weather? Not a whole lot right now. High pressure across the east. We got some cooler weather out here in California. Had some sprinkles earlier this morning. It's kind of nice. And potentially maybe another storm as we head towards the 26th of October there. Halloween, it's hard to say what's going to happen there. Looks like maybe a big-time nor'easter out here with some snow, right? For Halloween. Goodness. But that's a ways out there. We'll have to see how this model holds up. No major hurricanes heading to the Gulf, which is good news. Aside from that, folks, hope everyone has we got an earthquake down there in New Zealand, or a P wave of one. Let's see what's going on here real quick. Anything from the EMSC yet? Nothing yet. But I am seeing, like I say, there's a wave here of a large earthquake somewhere. It's showing up there on New Zealand, but it looks like I can't tell if Southern California is picking it up or not. I got to wait for the update here and see where this may be at. Let me check out the EMSC model here real quick. Oh, goodness. So it's definitely not going to be that earthquake. The purple one that's recent. Something big out here. Well, there's the update. Notice Japan's starting to pick that up as well. Maybe around the Solomon Islands. Hard to say. Maybe it's this one right here. Another 5.2, is that right? Yeah, 0537 UTC time. That was a while ago, wasn't it? Zero 0537. So that would be somewhere right about here. Right about the time the Parkfield, California had a little earthquake. So adjustment going on while this earthquake's happening. I guess that would be right for that P wave to take a few minutes here to arrive. I don't have any specific station there at the Solomon Islands or Kermadec Islands station, so what just happened there? That was really weird. Lost some of the earthquakes. So it does take a little bit of time for a P wave to show up here. Actually, that's a surface wave. The wavy, squiggly lines there showing up from that earthquake. Says a 5.2, but I don't know. That looks a little bit larger than a 5.2. I'm talking about this wave right here. That's a station down in New Zealand, which sits right about here. It's where that seismograph station is. So there's a little distance here between that 5-pointer and New Zealand, but that's pretty much what a 5-pointer would look like with that distance. All right. So that's just another earthquake there, and the mix of clustering going on out there across the Kermadec Trench. That's a lot of earthquake activity. There it is on the globe, 5.2, buried underneath all of this earthquake activity. About 30 kilometers deep for the latest quake. Watch this area pretty closely, folks. We could be seeing some major earthquake activity out here. And New Zealand slowly adjusting, but you know, that's a little on the crazy side. I don't recall the last time I seen something like that. That many earthquakes in a short amount of time. Of course, USGS has not issued that 5-pointer yet for that 5.2. So, all right, we'll keep an eye on things here, folks. But it looks like, let's see here, 2242. So it looks like just a couple minutes later, that little earthquake there in Seven Trees, California, hit. Not a big earthquake, but it just goes to show you how when things start to move out here, it only takes a second, maybe a couple minutes for adjustment going on. No big-time earthquake activity out here in Southern California yet, but you got to watch it. It's coming. Watching for that 8-pointer. The question is where? Where's it going to be? Hard to say, folks. Well, have a good one. We'll catch you guys back out here in the morning for the Thursday morning update. Stay safe out there.